Oh, go ahead.
Welcome to Grace is always, see, this is why we love having our guests on, because as soon as they get on the camera, we're like, hey, can you tell us about it? And we grill them for you. It's all research. So thank you
We're just
guys. It's
talking.
another
Yeah.
edition of Social Media News Live. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure, because we're talking about launching a product, if you've wanted to launch a product or you've had questions, all that kind of thing, make sure you ask your questions down below and share this show with a friend. Let them know about this if they, oh, I know Paul's trying to start a lot of product, or he wants to do this ebook or this kind of thing. This is the show, because we're going to be going over some data from Janet's recent launch, and she's amazing. She's a data nerd, and so this is going to be a lot of fun. So thank you guys for joining us today. Super, super excited. Grace, how are you?
Well, I'm good. I was going to say, even if you're launching a course, I know
Yeah.
several friends of mine have started writing books or talking about writing books. This is a good. This will be a good show for them as well. So if you know anyone that is looking to launch quite anything, because the thing about Janet is that all of her knowledge applies to so many things. So tag them, let them know that we are live, and they can ask their questions, because
Yeah.
we love audience questions.
And something interesting that I wanted to ask you guys about, because I'm still not seeing any comments pop up, and usually people are all on this, and I'm wondering, we are going live in these new Facebook events, which is the new thing that they've been doing, and I don't know how these are all working. I mean, it was really weird. It doesn't do an announcement post anymore. It makes an event. So I want to know what you guys think about this. If you guys can let us know in the chat, that would be helpful, because Facebook's always a change in things. So not always for the better. And so now they'll probably kick us off. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and hit go on the podcast machine and get started. So let me get everything set up here, and here we go. Hello, folks. Welcome to Social Media News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not.
And I'm Grace Duffy, and this is the show that keeps you up to date on the world of social media. A few weeks ago, we had the brilliant Janet Murray join us to discuss the launch around her content planner. Oops. Oh, sorry, my computer blipped. So we had Janet on to talk about the release of her 2023 Courageous Content Planner and Kit. In case you missed it, we did chat about how to use the content templates and still be true to yourself, and also where to focus your marketing budgets as we're heading into 2023. Can't believe that. So if you haven't listened to that, it's certainly not required reading for today's show, but if you're interested in that, please go back and give it a listen. It was about 3 weeks ago. But today we had her back on we invite her back on because she shared some interesting stats and critical learnings around this product launch. And all of them are published for pre-order. All of this is published as a pre-order launch debrief and report. I got that from DMing her at Jan Murray UK on Instagram. I'll let her talk about where she'd like to direct you to get it, so you can get a copy for yourself. But today we will be breaking it down with Janet right here today. I'm so excited.
So Janet, how are you doing today? Thank you for coming back on the show.
No, thanks for having me. And as you were talking, you were talking about the Facebook thing,
yeah,
and how it's all changed. It's really frustrating because it keeps swapping between my profile and my page. And I have managed to connect via Restream. I've managed to connect up this broadcast, but it's broadcasting from my profile and not my page. And as you were introing, I was trying to fiddle around to see if I could get it to work, but it wouldn't share onto my page, and it wouldn't let me. Yeah,
you have to go up to the 3 dots in your event and share it that way. So it's really, really strange. There's some tutorials I had to watch to do that, but so it is working. We got our friends Jim Fuse. He's watching over on YouTube. He goes, "Hello, Grace, Jeff, and Janet." Thank you, Jim, for stopping by. And then we have Michelle saying, "Perfect timing. I have my first ebook launching Tuesday with 27 other bloggers as a bundle. What is your best tip for getting out to many readers as possible?" So we'll make sure to ask that question as we dive in today. Michelle, thank you for joining us. And she is from Facebook, so it is working. It's just really weird how this stuff works. So I'm thankful that Michelle made that comment, so we know that it's working over there. So I want to introduce you guys to Janet. If you happen to miss the first show that she was on with us, she's been on our show a couple of times, but 3 weeks ago, like Grace had mentioned. But she is a content marketing expert. She's an author. She's a podcaster and a keynote speaker. She speaks worldwide about building online audiences and had taught thousands of coaches and creatives and entrepreneurs how to create engaging content. She's planned and executed hundreds of digital product launches, from one-off ebooks and masterclasses to complex online courses and membership. She's also the host of Courageous Content Podcast, which is an awesome podcast, by the way. So make sure you guys go check her out on your favorite podcast player. And she just launched her 2023 Courageous Content Planner and Content Kit that we'll be talking about that launch today. So Janet, thank you so much for being here. This is going to be a lot of fun. She also does really cool events. Like, I got to go and speak at one of her events in London, which I had a ton of fun at, and she's actually has another one coming up. So make sure you go and follow all things Janet Murray, because she is amazing. I want to do a real quick shout out to our sponsors of the show. You can find out more about them. Ecamm, they're the ones who make this show possible. You can go to socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm right now. In fact, right now, our friend Ian is over at Leap Into Podcasting, and you guys want to make sure that you guys go over there, because they're actually selling, like, I think it's like $25, $30, something like that, replay passes, because Grace and I were on there yesterday talking, and there was a ton of great speakers. Some people we've had on our show before, some people we're going to have on our show because they're just amazing. So make sure you guys go check out Leap Into Podcasting. If you missed any of that, you can get the replay pass. So very, 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 very cool. So anyway, let me get all this off and back to the show. We're talking about launching a new product. Grace, why don't you just go ahead and kick this off, because we're talking about you dove in deep to this because you're kind of a data nerd too.
I am, and she repackaged it so beautifully, which I have no doubt that she will. Janet, first of all, before we dive in, tell us where people can download this debrief report for themselves.
So this debrief report, I actually downloaded it here. It doesn't look so great off my printer, but if you head to Instagram, and I'm at Jan_Murray. I don't know if someone can put that in the chat. If you just DM me that, my clever messenger bot will deliver it to you, and it's got all sorts of, as I say, I've just changed the cartridge on my printer, so it's very garish at the moment. But it basically breaks down. It's got lots of, if you like, graphs and tables and percentages, and basically breaks it all down. And has a list of all the content I created during my launch period. And it's a bit of a kind of, if you like geeking out over launch stats and conversions, you'll love it. And the thing I went to say at the beginning was that mine is a physical and a digital product. It's a hybrid product, but you were absolutely right when you said whatever you're launching, whether you're launching a digital product, a physical product, an event, the approach that I can talk about, it works for any of this stuff. Cool. And there's one kind of key thing that I think makes the big difference, which hopefully we can get into.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
By the way, Janet's stuff is amazing to look at. So she just does a really good job with her layouts. From ever since I've followed her stuff that she puts out is just top notch. So if you want to get some inspiration there, I mean, that's well worth the price of admission. So
absolutely. Well, we went over these stats a few weeks ago, but this is an update. This was a little sneak peek that Janet provided to us about the debrief around the launch of her 2023 Courageous Content Planner and Content Kit. So she shared that total campaign ad spend in this year, 2022, was £1,200, and her spend last year around the same launch was £12,000. So quite a difference there. We'll get into her rationale around this Facebook ad spend. Affiliates payouts accounted for about 1% of revenue, which was £391, and they contributed to 14% of sales. More on that later. And then she also said that a majority of the sales came from her email list, 51%. So they marketed to just 9,000 of their 25 or 27,000 person list. Waitlist conversions were up 10%. And she also said that around 37% of sales came from 10% of the list marketed to, the highest conversion rate ever for her launches, and then expected to rise once duplicate contacts are removed. You also initially mentioned that the overall conversion rate for this launch was 6%. The average for digital products is actually 1% to 2%, which is quite shocking. And then the conversion rate from your waitlist again was that 37%. And Janet, you have an established brand and you have an established reputation. You've been producing this planner for years. Plus, you've had a strong background in journalism and creating content. You serve a ton of different types of clients. But what can we do to convince people to sign up for a waitlist when a product or service is still relatively unknown or, in most cases, still in development? Or not yet available? Essentially, how do you communicate the benefits and generate that level of excitement and encourage action among potential clients in a situation where someone is relatively new to this or unknown or launching their first ebook, like our friend Michelle here is?
So the first thing is you've got to really understand what the benefits are. And when I'm helping clients with launches, often there's normally a few things that aren't working if the sales aren't what they hope. But one of them is the sales page. And it isn't about what your sales page looks like. Obviously, it's nice if it's nicely designed, but it's actually, can you articulate the transformation? So most of us, we don't invest in products or services unless we're in pain. So we've got a problem that we need to solve. In my case, with my Courageous Content Planner and Kit, it's people who are two main things really, and they want to reduce the amount of time that they're spending on content creation and planning, but also often they're stuck for ideas and they're busy and they can't think. So it's really understanding the problem that your product or service solves. So when I see someone who's struggling to sell, whether it be an ebook or whether it be a membership or a digital product, often they don't really understand what the problem that their product or service solves. So if you don't understand the problem that it solves, you're going to really struggle to get that across to people. So that is actually the very first place to start. And what really annoys me, lots of things annoys me about this, but when you see all these big online launch people out there, touting their advice, often they're sharing the same strategies that work for them, and they already have established, million, billion-pound businesses, and they've been doing it for years, and they have Facebook ad spend and whatever. And what happens is I think people think, oh, well, if I just do what they do, I mean, I did the same thing myself when I first started
right.
out online. Oh, if I just do 3 videos, or if I just do exactly what they say, I'll get the same results. Well, of course you don't, because it's a numbers game. We talked about the conversion rate a second, but it all starts with understanding the problem that your product or service solves. I have just literally this afternoon sent out what is basically kind of like an ebook equivalent, a $9.97 product. So I've taken something that's part of a bigger product and just emailed my list, and people have just been buying it all afternoon. And it's because it's really clear. They're filling the gaps content templates. So it's really clear what the transformation is. Like, this is going to save me time. It's going to save me having to think of stuff for myself. So does that kind of make sense? I think a lot of people skip to the strategy. We can't even talk about wait lists or conversions or what kind of content unless you actually understand what the blooming heck does this product.
Right.
Why am I selling it? Because you can do all of the strategy stuff in the world. You can write a million social media posts, but if people don't get why they should buy it, they won't buy it. And does that kind of make sense as a starting point?
So it was funny because Grace and I were just talking about this yesterday. So I'm going to tease this right now, but if you guys stick around to the end, we mentioned we were part of Leap into Podcasting this week, and it's going on right now. But we created some actually digital products for that, and we're going to give those to you. If you stick around to the end, we'll give you the link to sign up and get those. But it's very, very practical. Like it's Grace's email template that we send out to our guests. It's our run of show that we do, that we're looking at right now to do our show. And then it's our actual product list that we have to make this show happen, and also some icebreaker questions that we asked a lot of times during the show. So we have all that, but it's very, very practical. And I think your point, Janet, it's got to solve the problem, and then you just communicate it, because this stuff works for us. I mean, we've got 2 years of this show in the bag, and it's working for us. So we're excited to share it with people. So I think that point about your product, like knowing what you have and not just copycatting something that some of those big online gurus do, or sell a course on how to make a course, it has to be specific to you. So I think that was very, very cool. I want to do a big shout out to real quickly to some of our folks here. And it is, we mentioned Janet's podcast earlier, but a happy International Podcast Day. That's true. Thank you, Jim, for that. And Gary Stockton, one of our faithful friends and followers, who's also got a podcast. He says, good morning, you lovely people. and the unknown Facebook user that's always Lou Mangello. We can't figure out why. I'm on his show and it does the same thing, but it says 3 of my favorite people in one place. This is Lou Mangello, or as Descript likes to call him, Lemon Jello. So anyway, so we talked a little bit about, these stats that we're talking about comes from your pre-order week, and the first week of a sales period usually lasts around 16 weeks. And you talked about the planner was discounted by 50% and contained 3 bonuses, which I think were cool, which were around, you said 300 pounds. So what was your thinking behind this 16-week sale period? Like, how do you determine the timing? Was it impacted by time of year or other factors? I'm really interested why you came up with that time.
Okay, so the first thing is there's no kind of right time for your launch period. The key thing is so I would start with thinking, how many do I want to sell, basically, and I mentioned the conversion rate before, 1 to 2%. So I will sometimes say to my clients, and it's a difficult moment, but I'll say to them, okay, so you've got this digital product, you want to sell this many, how many people have you got on your email list? So based on that 1 to 2% conversion, and remember, if you're new to it, you're not likely to be knocking it out of the park to start off with, because there's a lot to learn. So, and they'll go, well, I might sell 1 or 2. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't launch that digital product, but what it means is you've got to think about, do I need to grow my audience? So do I need to spend 12, 16 weeks or whatever trying to build my email list? I always create, I think I talked about this on the last show, but I create a very specific lead magnet that leads to the product that I want to sell. And when Grace asked me the question about, I can't even remember what it was, but I felt like I wasn't being relevant when I started saying about the most important thing is that your product or service solves a problem. But actually, it really is relevant because when you understand what problem your product or service solves, that means that it's like you warm your audience up. So basically what you're doing, what a lot of people do with digital product launches in particular, is they just kind of rock up and go, hey everyone, buy my thing, right? There's no warm up. People don't understand why they need it. Sometimes people say to me, how do I sell something to somebody that they don't understand they need? You can't sell something to somebody that they don't think that they need. They've got to know that they need it. So actually it's about you thinking, well, how long is it going to take me to educate my audience that they actually have this problem, if that's necessary? Do I need to bring more people into my audience in order to increase the sales? Or, do I need to do some other activities to make sure that I'm going to make my target sales? So it's not some kind of arbitrary figure. And I talk about 3 types of content. So you've got audience growth content. So that's typically like your blogs, your podcasts. And so I will very strategically, in the 12 to 16 weeks running up to a launch, I will start to strategically publish podcasts that are on things like content planning and on content planners, because I want people to start to be aware of the fact that these things are important and that they need to think about them. And then my planner comes along and it solves that problem. But if I haven't helped people to see for themselves that these are things they need to be thinking about, then my product's going to be less relevant. Then you've got your nurturing content. So what a lot of people do with digital product launches, it's the equivalent of going to an event and someone coming out and going, hey, buy my thing, buy my thing. Right. They just suddenly up and say, buy my thing. So actually, if you've been educating people about the problems that your product or service solves, and helping them to make them aware that they have those problems, that there are solutions out there, they're going to be much more likely to take notice when you come along with your solution. But then some people still aren't ready to buy. Like, they don't know you well enough. Like, they haven't built that know, like, and trust. So then there's like nurturing content, which is about building connection and having conversations. And then I call it like cash generation content. So actually, in your launch period, that week when you do your launch, for me, it's not the easiest part. Like, it's tiring and the days are long, but the hard work's been done already. So I do a number of different things. So like I say, I strategically publish podcast episodes. You'll see my podcast content start to change. There'll be a lot more stuff about content planning, a lot more stuff about content strategy, because we're getting ready to launch the planner. I will also publish, and this time I did 4 very specific lead magnets. And when I talked before about making sure that your lead magnet, your buying your product or service, should feel like the natural next step. So we did a number of lead magnets. And the one that worked the best was fill in the gaps content templates, which are basically the same as the freebie that was going to be coming with the content plan. So people basically getting to try a bit of what they were going to get. They were getting good results. They're like, great, this is saving me loads of time. Oh, and by the way, the planner's got thousands of these. So when you asked me, Jeff, about how did you decide on those bonuses? Well, I was thinking, well, like you say, to get someone to put their name on a wait list, there's got to be a reason. And the reasons normally are people are going to save money. They're going to get extra bonuses, things that they find really valuable. So you've also got to understand, it sounds like a lot, doesn't it? But you've got to understand the problem that your product or service solves, but you've also got to understand what your customers and clients, what would they be willing to put their name on a wait list for? Like, is it money? Is it bonuses? And the other thing is that you've got to get them as excited as you are. So one of the things that we do, and as it happens, I happen to have the dummy copies here. But so one of the things that we do is we get my clients, there's 4 covers. We start off with a list of 8. So this is 2 of the covers. And it is digital as well, but there is a physical version. So we start with 8 and we get people to vote. And we do that usually in about July, and it goes on sale at the end of August. So people are kind of invested in it because they've already seen, oh, that looks nice. Oh, that's my favourite one. Oh, I wonder if my one's going to win. And so you're getting people are kind of invested in the product. And as you're asking them for their choices, you're asking them if they want to join the wait list because they're going to get a really great discount. They're also going to get these bonuses. So you're not just rocking up and saying, hey, buy my thing.
Right.
You're getting them excited about the product. You're educating them that they actually need it. And you are also nurturing as well. Some people are on my email list for years before they buy a planner. And I'm not saying that with any judgment. It's just that people do need to get to know, like, and trust you before they're, some people take longer than others. So does that kind of make sense in terms of why you might take that long?
I want to dive in really quick because I want to talk a little bit about the wait lift. I'm throwing an audible, Grace, another audible. This is what we talked about yesterday during our thing.
This is good.
So I want to talk about the wait list. So I heard you say that you kind of use that wait list time to find out what they want. Now, are you creating the product or tweaking the product to during that time? Because you mentioned like, we found out that these 3 freebies worked well, so we're going to include those in the content planner. Like, talk about this kind of the strategy behind a wait list, because some people don't do a wait list. They just go, here's my product, buy my stuff. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, again, it comes down to understanding your customers or clients really, really well. And it does come a bit with experience. So I've got better at this over the years, as you would do. So like I said, the 2 key problems that my product solves are saving people time on content planning and creation, and also helping them, to come up with ideas, because sometimes it's just hard, isn't it? You're busy and you lack inspiration. So I thought to myself, what would really make my ideal customers or clients excited? Fill in the gaps templates, 1,000 fill in the gaps social media post templates, like that's going to save you so much time, 4 a day across a year. But also these content kits that we sell separately for 147. One of them is a cash generation content kit. Whether people are upfront about it, in the UK, people are a little bit more polite about it, but ultimately most people are interested in finding out how they can make more money. Right. And if they try and tell you that they're not, they are. So this cash generation content, I did quite a lot of work actually also about educating people why they needed the bonuses as well. So I did quite a few podcast episodes about what is cash generation content, why do you need it, how does it help you bring money into your business fast, and this kit has got templates and training or whatever. So actually I was able to advertise my bonuses quite early and tell people they were coming, and tell them how much they were worth, right from the off. So I wouldn't be probably developing bonuses as I was going along.
Gotcha.
I'd already know what they are, but that's based on really knowing my audience well. But one thing you did say is we do not print these. Like we still do pre-orders now, because you nobody would want to invest money, particularly with the physical products,
right.
Not knowing whether you can. Not knowing whether or not people are actually going to buy it, because it could be very expensive to print a load of planners. Right. So and I never create any product, any digital product or whatever, because the thing is you really won't know whether somebody is going to buy it until you're brave enough to sell it to them. And this is another problem I see a lot as well. So it's happened to me before. I've put offers out and people haven't bought, or not enough people have bought. just give them their money back. But before you do, or after you've done, ask them for some feedback. Like, why was it, why did this product not really land? Or ask people who didn't buy, what could I have done to make, what would be a better fit for you? I see that as a real opportunity. So I have, for me, it's always minimal viable product. So I've never created a digital product before I've sold it, and I wouldn't. Because again, I mean, there used to be a group, I won't say the name of it, but it did actually bring tears to my eyes, because I was in this group. One person had spent like the best part of a year creating an online course, and not one person had bought it. It's like your worst nightmare, isn't it? Like not even one person, and they were heartbroken. And the trouble is, we as human beings, we can get so fixated on what we want to teach people, and we actually don't listen to what they want to learn. And when you actually put a PayPal button or a Stripe button on it and you ask people to buy it, even if it's a very simple sales page, I've sold things off Google Docs loads of times. Like, you don't even have to have a fancy sales page. You'll get that feedback straight away. They'll either buy it or they won't buy it. And if they don't buy it, you have to be brave enough to go back and ask that question. Okay, so you didn't buy this, or sometimes something I do a lot, I go back to people on the wait list and ask them why they didn't buy, and say, you put your name on the wait list, like, why didn't you buy? Like, what was it about the product? And so I guess there you might get feedback about how to improve your product year on year. But so to answer your question, it's a long I think you asked me about, do we do the bonuses as we go along? No, I know what the bonuses are, because I know my customers and clients, and I know what solves their problems. And this is why I'm not a big fan of these big online course programs or whatever, because I really think you need to work with somebody who's done it before and done it successfully, and actually who will give you one-to-one feedback and tell you if your idea is crap, because it's very expensive. If you've not done something before, like sold a digital product, an online course, like, of course you're probably not going to get it right the first time. Of course you're probably going to try and sell people things they don't want to buy. Like, you need somebody who can go and go, no, that's not going to sell. Or if you're going to sell it, you need to say this instead. And I think that there is just so much to it. But I think the biggest thing is just getting the product right, and just because then if you get the product right, you'll then probably know what freebies and bonuses, you'll know what kind of discounts to offer. Does that all kind of make sense?
Yeah. So I just want to kind of make sure I heard you right. So the wait list for you is, one, it helps you figure out how many planners you're going to have to spend and print. And it's also a time where you kind of build up, you're getting these bonuses too, and build some excitement inside of the wait list as well, because the wait list, they're not putting any money down. They're just saying, yeah, I'm interested, is what you're saying. And so that's a way that you can actually almost segment your list a little bit, that you can go to and say, okay, you're on the wait list. This is what's coming. Get ready. Here it comes, that kind of thing. So I think that's really genius.
And that conversion, that increase of 10%, you can do a lot to. We all know that the people who are most likely to buy are the people who are already like our clients or have worked with us before or whatever. So yeah, you can improve your waitlist conversions, and sometimes that's better. It's better to put your efforts there than trying to get new people, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Awesome. So I nerd out about this stuff and the psychology behind it and all that stuff. So I'm sorry, Grace, you had some questions, so go ahead.
Yeah, well, no, I just had a thought, because this is a LinkedIn post that I saw earlier today, and it was about content marketing. And I won't read the whole thing, but basically the suggestion was that, when it comes to writing an ebook, we have Michelle in the comments here, she talked about launching her first ebook. The suggestion in this post was that you work on the title and description first. This unblocks your design team or you to create all of the campaign assets, landing pages, banners, emails, all of that. And then when the ebook is, and then, you're doing this as you're writing the ebook, so while you're writing it and designing it, you're getting that feedback as you go along, and then you launch it. What do you think of that strategy?
I'd have to read the post to see what they were saying. But I would disagree, probably.
Okay, tell us. I mean, it wasn't my blog post. It wasn't my LinkedIn post. So you're free to disagree, and it will not hurt my feelings. But you tell me because this is an idea that was put out there, and I'm going to add too that, like, I know there's we've worked with course creators before where they'll like start marketing the course before it's done, right? Or they'll start and they're like, "Oh, it's okay, like I'll figure it out." And it's just like, but isn't the course the important part? But anyway, you tell me what you think.
Well, I mean, without actually seeing the post, I mean,
Yeah.
but I would say, I would say that you shouldn't be creating any assets or anything until you know that people are going to buy the thing. I mean,
Mhm.
with an ebook, because it's not a big, with an ebook, because it doesn't take ages to create or whatever, and because of the price point, like, I, I would be more inclined to create it. But if you've never created, and I've seen it happen before, if you've never ever like sold something successfully, you could spend like, I write really quickly because that's what I used to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen other people spend months and months and months on this ebook, and it's like this opus, and then no one wants it. So I would be more inclined to do a lead magnet, to do an email lead magnet on a section of it or something. So say, for example, you wanted to do like a guide to Instagram growth or something. What I might do is do a small one, I'd say Instagram hashtags. I might do like a lead magnet or something, and then just kind of see how that goes. Because, and this is the other thing as well, if you can't get people to download a free lead magnet, it is going to be really difficult for you to get people to buy your ebook. Like I would say, actually, can you create a good email lead magnet that people actually want to buy first? Is for some people that's the right thing. I just worry about, for the price point of an ebook, I worry about creating assets and making it into a big thing. Like, most of us have probably got something sitting on our computer, right? So here we go. This is what I'm trying to get to. I think most of us have probably got like something sitting on our computer that we could easily knock together into a few thousand words, whatever. Because if you're an expert, in
Right.
your field, I could probably go and write an ebook like after this on something or other. And I've probably got the material already, that I could deliver to people. So it worries me that people might be spending months and months and months of creating assets and stuff, something like that. Why not just put it together as quickly, as simply as possible? Don't worry about fancy design, obviously make it look okay and readable or whatever,
Right.
but just sell it, just
Yeah.
get out there and see if people buy it. I would not that's the bit that worries me. I would not recommend people getting assets and designers and figuring out as they go along. Like, just find something on your computer and see if people want to buy it, and see if
So,
the idea right first. You could waste such a lot of money. You could end up spending 10 times the amount, that you'd actually get from it.
so here's a practical thing, and once again, free consulting. So I've had a lot of people ask to talk to me about Descript, which is a program that I used to repurpose and all this stuff. And I've had some people say, hey, you should do a course. So what you're saying with this kind of model and planning, that I should probably do one little section, like, Descript 101, and do a little video thing and send it out there as a lead magnet and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this course. Would you buy this if I built this out, like made a full set? Right?
I would never ask people whether they would buy it or not.
Okay.
Because they'll go, yeah, especially if they're British. So, oh, yeah, that's great. And they won't buy it. What I would do, this is what I get my clients to do. They don't want to do it, but it is the right thing to do, is to create a one module online course. So what I would do in your situation, Jeff, is I would do like I do like a webinar or a masterclass, like a one-off masterclass with Descript. Now, I really like Descript, but I think actually, if you just log into it and you haven't really looked at it before, it can be quite overwhelming.
Right.
So say, for example, you're going to teach me one thing, like how to
Make a
shave
podcast.
30, yeah, how to shave 30 minutes off your podcast production time with using Descript or something. If you were to sell me a masterclass that was, say, like an entry level, $30, $40 or whatever, you've then got a product that you can sell on in the future. You can get a sense for whether people actually are interested in Descript and interested in, and then you can build modules on from that. What I would really advise against, if you don't have a proof of concept, is you sitting at home creating a massive big Descript course.
Right.
And then you suddenly find out that no one's interested in you teaching them Descript.
Right.
So I would test. I call it like a one module course. So I will have like clients, for example, who say, "Oh, I'm going to do this like online course." You don't know if anyone wants that topic.
Right.
Just sell a masterclass. Like, you can teach it live. and you can, that means you could resell it later anyway. But that could be module 1 of your course, or it could be one of a group. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. So I was thinking as a lead magnet, but you're saying just go out of the gate, sell a master class, and sell it.
If I was you, I'd probably sell it because you're more experienced, aren't you? But if you'd never done it before, the script, because it's quite technical, I'd say I probably would, as long as you felt confident delivering it. But I'm sure you would.
I've talked about it in when I've gone and spoken somewhere. I've showed people and their mouths drop open and they're freaking out. And so that's why they're like, I would buy a course as you would teach this. And so that was kind of my thing, but I didn't want to go and, like you said, build out a huge course and not have anybody buy it. Anyway, I hope I got free consulting. I hope that was helpful to other people with kind of a real life example there, because
people lie. I think that's the other thing. People lie. Like if you went to a Facebook group and said, would you buy my Descript course? Well, people lie in the wait list. So our wait list conversion is 37%. That's a really good conversion. So that shows how many people, they're not lying really, but people put their name on the wait list and they're not that interested. So you could go into Facebook group and go, do you want this? Oh, Jeff, that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. Especially the British will go, oh yeah, I can't wait for that, Jeff. And then 2 people. It's better for you to test it out on a one-off thing. Great, people really like this. And also, you've then got a warm list of people for your course because you've already taught them that one thing, and you're like, brilliant, I've now got everyone to do. So does that make sense? And then also you can use that process to find out what they'd want in the full course.
That's great. That's genius. So we could just go now, and I can go put it together. No, sorry, Greg.
Jeff is thoroughly distracted now. So
sorry, I went off topic, but I thought it was relevant for this just because of I know people have the same questions about. They're like me. They know how to do something really, really well. I mean, I'm not saying I'm really well, but they have something that they want to teach, but they don't know if it's going to fly or not. And so I thought that was genius, Janet. Thank you for that. So, and Michelle was even going, yes, she goes, thanks so much. Very, very helpful. So thanks, Michelle. Yeah. So ask your questions while we got Janet. That's what I'm doing. So you might follow my example and ask her. So back to this amazing launch kind of breakdown. So Grace, I took some time. You go now.
That's okay. Well, you, Janet, revealed that you only marketed to a third of your email list. And we said we would dig into it. And so now we shall. Why was that? Why did you only market to 9,000 of 27,000?
So we've got 27,000 on the list. And when we looked at how our email list subscribers have been behaving, as it were, we only really felt that 9,000 have been behaving in a way that they would actually be interested in this product. Because a lot of people, if you have free lead magnets, a lot of people join, they're not interested in buying. So we looked at the most active parts of my list, and we looked at the people that were most likely to buy, basically. And if you're emailing, say, if I emailed my whole list, 27,000 people, knowing that 2/3 of them are probably not going to buy this product, well, that's actually going to harm my sales overall, because that harms your, how it works with email marketing, that the more people that open, engage, the less likely people are going to end up in spam or not seeing your stuff. So we decided just to focus on the most engaged parts of the list, and we segment this. Blows people's mind, you see. So I'm sure there's people that do much more complex things than this, but we use Active Campaign now. We used to use Infusionsoft Keep, which in many ways I kind of preferred, but Active Campaign it will be easier for someone like me to jump in and use, rather than Infusionsoft. So we actually would send. Sometimes we send the same email to all segments, but sometimes we might send a different email with a different message because you've got a different relationship with that person. So just blanket emailing the whole 9,000. So we've got a wait list. So we had, I think it was 832. I forget that number all the time, but I think we started with 832 on the wait list, which actually was less than the year before, but they were much better leads because it converted better. We also had people who bought the planner last year. I think that was another group. We have, what was the other group? Engage list members. So we just have a group of people who engage, and so what we'd be looking at then is the difference between the conversion between the different groups, which if you like that kind of thing, I find it's really fun. But if you don't, but that's how you can see actually send, we might send extra emails to the waitlist people, or actually have slightly different content because, they've got a different, and they're the types of things that really make a difference, just blast you. A lot of people think, because sometimes I get the odd rude email from people and people think that you're actually blasting and it's not. There's a lot of thought goes into it.
Right.
And I might send more emails to the wait list, or I might send a slightly different message to the wait list. So all of that can really boost your conversions. You're not just blasting out everyone on your list, you're only selling it to those people who are, I've sold products or services before. Let's say, for example, in the past I've done Instagram courses. Like, I know there's some people on my list who are not even on Instagram. So the first email I might send would be like, hey, I call it an unmarketing email. So I'm going to be doing a launch for my Instagram course.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to opt out? Because if you're not in Instagram and you're really not interested, this is going to annoy you. And so get rid of those people who aren't interested, who haven't even got an Instagram account or are not interested. So you can just focus on the people who are. Does that kind of make sense? For me, it's always about just focusing on the people who are most interested, and I'm not blasting people who are not interested.
Right. There's a guy that I actually he talks a lot about brand marketing, and his name's Justin Moore, and he in fact the Dealcasters, Jim and Chris got me, and he spoke at one of their things they did. But he's amazing for brand deals and Amazon Live and all that stuff. But he just launched a course, and that was something that I noticed that he did. He's like, and he even had a big button like, hey, I'm launching a course. If you don't want my course launch emails, click this button. And I thought that was genius, because you're not like, people would rather do that than unsubscribe. And so I thought that was genius on the way to do that. So I think that's really, really awesome, Janet, that you did the same thing. Like, hey, by the way, you're not on Instagram, so this probably won't interest you,
or LinkedIn.
Yeah.
We put a link in every single email above and beyond the opt-out that says, hey, if you're not interested in my 2023 Courageous Content Planner, and we'll normally put something like, if you're not interested in saving 50% of my 20, we'll put something that reminds people of the message. But what's the point? If people have already decided they're not interested, and they're already negative about it, like, what's the point in keep saying, so I'm actively looking for people to leave the list, because if they're on the list, you're paying for them, even if they're not interested, they're going to buy. But also looking to get people to leave the campaigns, because if they're genuinely not interested, then they're just going to keep seeing these emails, and they're going to tune out. And when you have got a message for them that it is more relevant for them, they're not going to look. So my thing is always about only marketing to the most relevant people.
That's good. That's really good. So I wanted to go back a little bit to your list here, and you said 37% of sales came from 10% of the list you marketed to. So does that mean that 10%, that's the segmented list that you were going to, or did you segment it, or is that from your wait list, or how, I'm trying to understand exactly what that means.
Yeah, so I'm now trying to go back and remember, because I sit and doing all the calculations. But basically, most of the sales came from the waitlist segment.
Okay.
The waitlist segment was 800. The waitlist segment was 823, whatever I said it was, and we only marketed to 800, and I think it was 890. Great's probably got it in the report, but it was less than 9,000. And so that wait list, that 10%, was the best converting list, if you see what I mean. So without a doubt, the effort that we put in to create a wait list of people who were interested, excited, who, as soon as the post went up and the email went out to say, I'm going to buy, they were the most likely to buy. And I think often, and it's a general thing with marketing as well, is that we're always looking to bring new people into our world, and we're always thinking it's about new people, where actually, like you said before, there was something else that we did this year which actually helped a lot. I'm not a big fan of affiliate sales, so don't get me on the topic, but I'm really not a fan of, those affiliate launches where people are like getting wedge. I wouldn't let anybody sell my planner or any of my products or services if they don't actually use it, or I wouldn't let them sell my, I want to reward my customers for loyalty, and I've got some people who've been buying my planner like every single year, but at the same time, I would never want anybody to be able to earn more selling my products or services than building their own business, because that seems a bit immoral to me. But also, I don't know, the idea that people will be out there selling my products or services and they don't use them, don't really like them, they're just doing it for the money, like that feels really unethical to me as well. So we just give like a small percentage, it's 10%. But one thing we did this year actually, which is kind of like a waitlist strategy, is a week before the waitlist officially opened, we emailed our best customers and said, do you want to be an affiliate? You're not going to be a millionaire, you're going to get 10% per sale, but we gave them an extra 10%. So we said, you get your 50% off, but an extra 10%. So we actually had, by the time we opened on the day, we had about 60 or 70 sales already, because these very, very loyal planner owners had been contacted a week before. They'd been given the chance to buy their planner and get an extra 10% off. They also had all of the artwork and the copy, so they were ready to go and ready to tell other people about it. And we had a little Facebook group going, and they were like, the actual payout is quite a small amount, Grace. You read it out earlier on. It's a tiny percentage of the overall revenue, but for me, it's more about getting people involved, getting them in. They were excited and they wanted to know like how many we'd sold. There was a little bit of competition going on, who'd sold the most planners, and a little bit of a leaderboard going on. So actually, even within the wait list, gets really complex. We were nurturing, if you see what I mean. So you could get people on a wait list and you can ignore them until the day that you go live, or you can keep in touch with them. So we emailed the wait list. We invited them to be affiliates and sign up, and to get this extra 10%, and to be able to give that 10% to their friends or whatever. But we also kept reminding them, by the way, there's only 7 days to go, or 4 days to go, or 3 days to go. So it kind of makes sense. Like even within the wait list, you're nurturing. Like people put their names on a wait list and then forget about it. You have to keep marketing to the wait list. I think that was a phrase that you used before. You have to market to your list.
So I think that's genius, because you're actually activating your super fans, is what you're doing, like with that wait list, and give them like a little bonus for being the super fans, which I think is really genius. And by the way, something we are a super fan of is our sponsor, Ecamm. See how I did that? So smooth.
Yes, very beautiful.
You can find out more about them at socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm. They're what makes this show possible. Helping them helps support us, and it's just a fabulous product. But they're also doing their leap into podcasting, all about video podcasting, which is what we do. Grace and I spoke there. There's actually a guide that you can get, and it comes with some replay things, so it's very, very reasonable. So make sure you check that out too at leapintopodcasting.com. Janet, I was going to kind of a transition, because what they're doing a virtual event. They ask their speakers, and it's all free if you go. But if you want the replay, it's some money, and the guide is some money for that as well. It's not a big moneymaker for Ecamm, but it's like they have a product, and so it's like getting word of mouth out there. What are your thoughts on kind of virtual products and that kind of model?
So in terms of doing sort of like free,
because summit, like it's really popular now, this virtual summit kind of thing. A lot of people are doing those.
Yeah, so it's not something that I've done a lot of myself, and I think it really just depends on. It comes back to the product or service that you want to sell at the end. Something like Ecamm, I think that would really make sense, because they're getting to show off the product, aren't they? So actually by holding the summit, people are going, hey, this is really cool, like how are you doing that? And so it feels, for me, it's a really good example, I guess, of sometimes with basically it's a lead magnet, isn't it? A free summit is a lead magnet, but it can, I call it like a handbrake turn. So sometimes people will have a lead magnet, or they have a free challenge or something, and then the product or service they're selling at the end, it's like, what? Like what's
right?
Whereas Ecamm, it's great because it's like, hey, we've been using this great software to broadcast. I'm not just saying this because they're my event sponsor and we use them, by the way. I genuinely think it's like you've exposed people to the product, you've shown them how it works, and then at the end, hey, by the way, like we've shown you how great this is and all the different features as part of our summit, and you've heard all about it. Like, and here's a great deal for you to sign up. For me, that seems really great because you're educating, and I think. And it feels like a natural next step. So if you've been, hearing all about, I'm assuming it's about live video, and then you've got this tool that's going to make, again, you've got a tool at the end of it that's going to make your life easier, and it's going to make it easier for you to do that. It's going to be great. That makes sense. But sometimes I see people, but also quite new people, I sometimes see people investing a heck of a lot of time in creating these big virtual summits. I'm always about, and I'm not a lazy person, as people would say, like I work really hard, but I'm not a big fan of doing more work than you have to get the outcome. So people like doing like massive, big, like, yeah. So here's an example. Somebody said to me, "Why don't you do a virtual event to promote your event?" I was like, "No, I can't do it." Like that's the idea of having to do like 2 events. It's just
Right.
like feels like too much. It feels like for the outcome that you would get.
Right.
And sometimes I see people doing big summits and whatever. And also, the thing you have to think about with summits is like, so you collaborate with all these people, and then they forget about you because
Right.
not the same for Ecamm because they're
Right.
using the tool, but so you've got all these people, and people are like, oh, that person's amazing, whatever, and then they forget like that you were the
That
person
you put it on. Yeah. Yeah.
and you're basically giving free play
That's
to all these people. So I just think you have to think really carefully about your purpose. Like for someone like Ecamm, that makes total sense. You're showing off the product or service, you're showing how it can save time, and then at the end you're going, hey, have a great deal on it. But I think I sometimes see, and this with challenges, online challenges are popular, aren't they? For and it can be a heck of a lot of work.
Yeah, I've done
It can be great because it's showing people how you help them, whatever. But you've just got to be really careful that it links to the thing that you want to sell at the end.
That's really good advice. So yeah. Wow, we're diving in deep and we're getting consulting at the same time. These are my favorite kind of shows.
I know, they're so fun. But yeah, I want to bring it back to the content marketing that you created around your debrief, around the debrief report. But first of all, let's remind people where they can find it. Janet, tell us where they can find your debrief report. Where would you like to direct people to get a copy of this for themselves? It is a very insightful report.
So here it is, but it doesn't look that great because my printer's just, I don't know what's going on with my printer. But anyway, it's a PDF. It's nice, easy. It's got lots of graphs and things. But if you head to Instagram, Murray, search up Janet Murray.
So you're breaking up, Janet. Why don't you say that again, because you broke up really, really badly. So, yeah.
So, am I coming through okay now? Am I?
Yes.
Am I still a little bit?
But we can hear you.
Instagram, Jan_Murray. Just search up Janet Murray and you'll find it. If you go to the DMs and just put report, then my clever messenger bot will deliver it to you. And actually, the messenger bot was very instrumental in the launch and instrumental in delivering this as well. You don't need a clever messenger bot, but the kind of strategy behind it is probably quite relevant.
So we're kind of getting to the end of our show, but can people still? Do you have like a window where it closes where people can't buy it anymore, or do you like continue to sell for the rest of your life? If somebody is watching this and say, oh, "I want this thing," can they go buy it or not?
What, the planner?
Yeah.
No, totally. So the pre-order is just really to encourage people to take action. I mean, and that's something we haven't talked about really with launch strategy, but that's the other thing as well. I see people like, yeah, I've launched my thing. Okay, when are you opening your cart? Well, I'm not really. You need to give people, it's not scammy to have a launch period, because you need to encourage people to take action. All of us will just, if we think we're going to get another chance, if we think we can wait till next week, we won't take action, will we? You need to give people a window. So the pre-order, we give people a really great bonus. We give them a really decent discount, but you can still buy it afterwards. But it's going to cost you more basically, and you're not going to get the same bonuses. However, you still can buy my Courageous Content Planner and Content Kit, and actually I'll give you a sneaky code, but it's a podcast. If you use podcast, my podcast listeners get a third off during October. But what I would say is that you can't just launch, even something like this, you can't just launch and do your pre-order. Like we sold 555, I think it was, during pre-order week. We've got to carry on selling it right through to January. So that means you've got to have different phases. So what I said I was doing earlier on, so one of the hardest times for sales for us actually can be October, because we have our big pre-launch at the end of August, beginning of September. And you would think people aren't interested in buying planners, and they are. And we've made it earlier each year. But things pick up again in November because people start thinking about planners and planning again. And obviously December and January are our biggest months. But this sort of October can be a bit quiet because people say, we get a few sales, but not as many as normal because people are kind of not really thinking about planning and we're not doing a big launch. So something I did today actually is one of the bonuses was the October date. So I basically did 100 fill in the gap social media templates for October, November, and December, which was free only with the pre-order. So in order to boost sales in October, we took the October dates, made it into a product for $9.97, and just sent it out to my email list and said, hey, do you want to buy the October dates? And really upfront about it. I don't normally sell these separately, but I just want to give you a chance to see what you'll get with your planner and kit. So you can make this small investment, $9.97, and what we'll look at over the next month or so. And it's a 24-hour window as well. They can only have them in 24 hours. So if you want them, actually, let me know. Contact me and I'll send you the link. But I'll be looking to see how that converts. So I'll be thinking, okay, so what? So all afternoon people have been buying this $9.97. Right. So I'll be looking really closely. We have a follow-up email sequence to see how many people buy. But a few kind of really important principles there. Really tight deadline. You can only do this for 24 hours. I don't actually normally sell this stuff separately because every product you create, everything you launch, it's just more time. Right. Right. Me, on a month that's normally quiet, October, giving people an incentive to sell them something small, like so that they've made that. I know what we were talking about there, Jeff, and your big cause. Actually, if they're not ready to buy from you, they might not be ready to buy the big cause, but they may be willing to make a small investment and then they'll be ready to write the next one. Gives people a chance to see what the plan is all about and what they might get in the planner and kit. And then I'll look and see how that converts and see what percentage of people then go on to buy the planner. But it gives us, we have different focuses. So like in December, it's all about the, don't miss the last Christmas post and gifts. January, it's all about, it's not too late to plan, but you basically, we have to keep launching and we have to have a launch every month. Right. You see what I mean? We have a big launch. And that's another thing as well people forget with digital products. I think there's been too much talk of like set and forget, but you can't set and forget. You can't just kind of, if your SEO is brilliant and if you've worked, you're getting tons of traffic to your website, but that takes years to do that. So if you haven't got that, you've got to work really hard and you've got to keep launching, which makes it sound like really hard work, doesn't it? But you can't just keep, you can't kind of put it on your website and hope people keep finding it because they won't. You need to keep launching it.
Well, once again, this has been amazing, Janet. So stinking smart. It just makes my head hurt trying to think. I mean, I've got so many more questions. I know our audience does too. But I think you guys, we are out of time. But make sure, Janet, one last time, tell people where they can go, find you, all your stuff. You just need to sign up for emails just to get them because they're brilliant as well. So, Janet, where's the best place to find you?
So my website is janetmurray.co.uk, which I think you've put up on the screen a few times. If you want this free report, which is a good read, particularly if you like geeking out over launch stats and conversions and whatever, if you just head to my Instagram and if you DM me report, then our messenger bot should deliver it to you. If not, we'll jump in and we'll do it manually. And you can also get, if you email me, you can get a month's worth of fill in the gaps October posts, but only in the next 24 hours.
All right.
So we can have another talk about how that converts. Like that could be, we could geek out on that one.
This stuff is really fascinating. I think it's very helpful for people. Like Michelle said, it was very, very helpful. And we've even had our friend Martin Buckland over on LinkedIn who always joins us. Thank you, Martin, for doing that. And appreciate you guys in the comments. Let us know, if there's some topics that you would like us to talk about. We are more than happy to try to find some amazing guests like Janet. Once again, Grace, I'll let you wrap us up and my mind is blown. I can't even speak anymore.
Did I not tell you that we've thoroughly distracted Jeff?
That's
oh my
right.
God. Well, our next show is next Friday, October 6th, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and of course, Amazon Live. Thank you, Janet, for being our guest 2
Yes.
times in a row. It is
Yes.
amazing. I don't think we've ever had a guest on like back to back like this, and because there's just so much value, so much content, and you will see in this report how much content Janet actually delivered around this launch to give you an idea of like what she's producing. There's a lot of insights in there. So please go download that report for Janet and for us, and give her podcast a listen, give our podcast a listen. And we hope you guys have a fabulous rest of your week.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye, everybody.